Right. So, many ages ago in internet years, a more successful YouTuber than I am who calls himself Pavio made the internet smarter by educating it about a short story called The Library of Babel by Jorge Luis Borges.
We begin with the narrator giving a description of the library. One which they immediately point out is the universe, which is made up of indefinite, possibly infinite hexagonal galleries. Since the library itself has within it everything that could possibly be said using language, to speak anything would be to say something already written in the library. Now, if we take this sentence alongside the opening sentence of the story that states that the library is the universe, essentially what is being stated is all invention is simply discovery.
And at the time I thought, that's amazing. What a way to conceptualize mankind's earthly pursuit of perfection and the totality of his knowledge through the cunning use of metaphor. Then I read The Library of Babel, and I hated it, at least the first time through. I don't know what I expected, other than the stone-cold bummer that is this short story. I was even warned.
Don't worry, because if the story does sound like a complete headache that just falls into a labyrinth of confusion, I wouldn't worry too much, as that just means that you're following along thus far.
Still hurt my feelings, though. See, for all intents and purposes other than starting arguments with didactic math weirdos, the Library of Babel is infinite, and every well-turned phrase, every scientific discovery, all the knowledge that mankind has unearthed and will unearth already exists somewhere in the library. Right? Cool. But so does all of its nonsense. Therefore, while it is not impossible to find something worthwhile in its endless, weirdly shaped bookshelves, it isn't on record that anyone ever has. And any given knowledge seeker could spend his entire life perusing the library, only to feel just as confounded for lack of answers at the end of his journey as he did at the start. You know the apocryphal million monkeys on their million typewriters tasked with typing out the collected works of William Shakespeare or Charles Dickens? Well, imagine those monkeys had also dutifully saved all their rough drafts, with the same reverence/indifference as they did King Lear or A Tale of Two Cities. That is the kind of rubbish a frustrated library card holder at the Library of Babel would be trying to sift through. Worse still, some knowledge seekers go to war for the contents of this library, attempt to build cases for why one or another of its volumes is truer than all the others, and to destroy whole subversive sections of this library on a regular basis. But all of these efforts are in vain. Because there are infinite saves on infinite drafts, flawed but passable copies of whatever your sacred text happens to be are super easy to get your hands on, and the odds of finding the perfect volume amid the immaculately organized garbage are pretty much infinity to 1. As a result, my feelings toward the Library of Babel became remarkably like my feelings toward a group of largely insufferable thinkers from roundabouts the start of the 20th century called the existentialists. Hypothetical and improvable, God bless the existentialists. The heart of what they believe is potentially very good, in that nothing matters, but it all doesn't matter to an equal extent. So let's say you have something in your head that is not strictly speaking pertinent to your survival, but it is taking up so much space that it is making you a basket case of executive dysfunction. Your boobs are too small. Your penis is too small. You didn't get married on time. You didn't have kids on time. The prom is coming up. Your death is coming up. And by some arbitrary standard you yourself probably did not set, you are not enough. But a passing knowledge of existentialism could allow someone who is worried about these things to take a giant step back and go, hold it. Is this really important? Or have I merely assigned it more importance than it deserves? Credit where it is due. Existentialism can therefore be one of the most freeing philosophies in the secular pantheon. 10 out of 10 on paper. Meanwhile, back in reality land, the average existentialist might be a really smart guy, but he's not the kind of guy you'd like to have beers with at the pub. Because once you come to the conclusion that nothing matters, it is shockingly easy to come to the secondary conclusion that nothing matters, and anyone who thinks it matters is stupid. It is not the kind of philosophy that makes you the life of the party. Do not stuff your piñata with it. Do not rate it for pickup lines. Okay, maybe one pickup line. Hey, if I ask you to Kierkegaard my heart, would it matter? Don't be absurd. Now, while Jorge Luis Borges was absolutely a contemporary of existentialists like Sartre and Nietzsche, at least I think I can name drop Sartre and Nietzsche without fudging the days too bad, it is my opinion that the most complete interpretation of the Library of Babel is one that is made with some understanding of who Borges was in mind. See, if Wikipedia is to be believed, as if I shouldn't know much better than that, Borges was an Argentine poet, author, and essayist, He was on a conversational basis with the future Pope Francis by the 1960s, spent most of his life as an agnostic ultraist, a word synonymous with radical politics, which he is credited with popularizing in South America, and eventually succumbed to liver cancer, but not before his future widow, Maria Kodama, summoned a Protestant minister named Eduardo de Monmollin to chat with Borges about the hereafter. When Borges died in 1986, Pastor Monmollin eulogized him as a man who had unceasingly searched for the right word, the term that could sum up the whole, and the final meaning of things. So with that in mind, the Library of Babel, at least to me, ceases to be an indictment of those who seek meaning in this life. But then what does it become? Well, in my opinion, which is the one you're stuck with because it's my channel, the story doesn't actually negate my first, albeit incomplete, interpretation of Babel as a metaphor regarding the artist, scholar, or average Joe's quest for earthly perfection. And at first glance, it seems to paint that quest as an inevitable failure. But I believe Borges himself would disagree with that interpretation because, quoth he, being an agnostic means all things are possible. This world is so strange that anything may happen or may not happen. And for me at least, here's the cool part. Just as the authors who contribute their knowledge to the Library of Babel are flawed, so are the people who seek its knowledge. Therefore, you don't have to be perfect to add to mankind's collective understanding, and your imperfect work might be just the thing some imperfect reader needs right now. Have you ever heard authors or artists try to describe the surreal joy they feel whenever they make something that impresses them so much they have a hard time believing it is truly theirs? That is the kind of euphoria I picture the day someone discovers something they believe is rather special in the Library of Babel's limitless archives. And it was right around here in the drafting of my script that I looked up at the blinking cursor on my laptop screen and went, wait a minute, archive? Oh, I get it now. That's why the book stacks are arranged in hexagons. They're archives. Funny. Very dry, Mr. Dead Philosopher. Anyway, if the limitless archives of the Library of Babel supposedly contain all the knowledge ever, that means every heartbreak you've learned to take more graciously than the last, every mistake that made you smarter on the job, that is knowledge that you, yes, sweet, humble, adorable you, may have added to such a library. It may never be anyone's hot topic of conversation on Book Talk, but that knowledge would be there. It would have always been there, and on some level, it may never have been truly yours to take the credit or bear the blame for. It may have merely been a thimbleful of a million billion cool things floating through the ethers of wisdom, and you just happened to be the lucky duck who was looking the right direction at the right time to catch it and pin it to the typewritten page for the world to check out and learn from at its whimsy. That is one of the coolest feelings on earth. I wish I could bottle it and perfume the air with it on uninspiring days. But alas, perhaps my attempt to describe such a feeling is in itself an imperfect nonsense draft of something way better buried deep in that same library at a depth to which I may never delve in this life. And you know what? That's okay, because I read The Heroine's Journey before I read The Library of Babel, and I am therefore in a pretty good headspace to accept that amazing as it would be to succeed where Mr. Borges thought he failed at finding the right word, the term that could sum up the whole, and the final meaning of things, perfect is not the enemy of good, and it is possible to be both imperfect and enough. As always, thank you for giving these videos a shot. If you want to see how easy it is to precipitate an existential crisis in your average YouTuber, feel free to dislike and unsubscribe. Until we meet again, take it easy. And whatever it is, it matters if you say it matters. Loves you.